So this might actually surprise you, but eating clean has the potential to really hurt your athletic performance on the court. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing three main reasons why that's the case. So let's get into it. So you're probably looking at the title, thinking it's clickbait, thinking there's no way that eating clean can't possibly hurt your performance. I mean, if you're eating chicken, rice, and broccoli all the time, that's the healthiest thing in the world, right? Like, at least that's what bodybuilding or the bros will tell you. But as an athlete, even though it's really well intentioned, eating clean can actually hurt your performance. And by the end of this video, you're gonna understand how. And first of all, before we get into all that, as always, if you enjoy the video, if you're new around here, drop a like down below, subscribe. Make sure you don't miss out on any of the future free content that comes out several times a week here on the YouTube channel. So make sure you drop a like and subscribe. And what I want to get into in this video again is how eating clean, even though you mean well and it comes from a good place, I know it does, it's actually hurting your athletic performance. And there's a couple of reasons why. First and foremost, eating clean. So just to clarify, eating clean typically means like eating whole unprocessed foods. So again, it's not necessarily a bad thing for most people. Like general population, it typically works pretty well because you're eliminating all these processed foods and kind of unhealthy options. But there's a couple of reasons why it doesn't work for athletes. Number one, lack of adherence. So adherence is your ability to actually stick to your nutrition plan. If you can't actually stick to your nutrition plan, I don't care how healthy the food is, I don't care how scientifically sound the plan is, if you can't stick to it for a long period of time and you don't enjoy it, you're not going to be successful with it. So that's the first thing we need to take into consideration. If you think about eating clean or cleaning up your diet, what does that typically entail? It typically means that you're cutting out all your favorite foods. So you're cutting out the ice cream, you're cutting out the pizza, you're cutting out the fast food, you're cutting out sometimes even relatively healthy options that you're cutting out just because they're not clean enough. And if you go into nutrition with this mindset of restriction, talk to me in 2 weeks when you're eating chicken, rice, and broccoli at every meal. You're not going to be having a very good time, and it's not going to be a very exciting experience. And even if you're feeling better, you're not going to be having that much fun with your nutrition plan. If you're not having fun with it, you don't enjoy sticking to it, you're going to fall off of it at one point or another. And if you fall off of it and go back to square one, that nutrition plan didn't work. So we got to find ways to make your nutrition plan enjoyable. I'll be making plenty of videos about this in the future, but the point being, if you go into the nutrition plan with the mindset of just eating clean and kind of cleaning up your diet, it's probably not going to be very enjoyable. So again, eating clean typically results in you cutting out your favorite food. So we want to get away from that. And that's reason number one why it's not going to be very successful for you. Reason number two, and just as important, cutting out all these foods, even though they're quote unquote unhealthy, maybe you shouldn't be having them all the time. Typically at first, what happens when you do this is you drastically lower your calorie intake. So if you're cutting out all the fast food and all the chocolate, all the ice cream, all the candy, while part of it is good, part of it is going to lead to a much lower calorie intake. And what do we know about calories? Calories are very much necessary to fuel your athletic performance. So if you go from a position where you're eating at maintenance, so you're eating as many calories as you burn, or even more calories than you burn, if you go from there to a position where now you're in what's called a calorie deficit, where you're eating less than you're burning, you're putting yourself in a position where your athletic performance is going to be hindered, your ability to recover is going to be hindered, your risk of injury and illness is going to go up. All these things happen when you're in a prolonged calorie deficit as an athlete who's trying to perform at a high level. If you want to look more into it in the research, it's called relative energy deficiency in sport. And that's kind of an unintended consequence of eating clean. So that's another reason why we kind of want to stay away from that. And on top of that, typically that decreased amount of calories results from a decrease in carbohydrates. And just like calories overall are a source of energy, carbohydrates are really, like, calories are energy, but carbohydrates are really your body's preferred source of fuel for that high intensity activity. So if you're cutting out carbohydrates, I did this myself. When I was playing basketball, I did the paleo diet. It's kind of a version of eating clean, kind of eating like the cavemen did. Sounds stupid now that I say it out loud, but really it was, the idea behind it was cutting out processed foods And in theory, it sounded really good, and I thought I was doing the greatest thing ever for my performance. But what it turned out happened was that I cut a bunch of calories, and all those calories that I cut came from carbohydrates because I removed grains from my diet, a major source of carbs. I removed all processed foods, which undoubtedly have quite a bit of carbs. And as a result, my athletic performance sucked. And as a result, my athletic performance sucked.
As a result, my athletic performance sucked.
Like, I was relatively unathletic to begin with, didn't have much of a vertical jump, and I could barely get off the ground a month and a half into this diet plan. So even though I was eating clean, I was eating plenty of fruits and vegetables, which you should. Please do not take this as me saying don't eat fruits and vegetables or don't eat healthy foods. What I'm saying is don't restrict your overall health. But I was eating plenty of fruits and vegetables. I was eating super clean, eating lots of protein, but I wasn't eating that many carbs. I wasn't eating that many calories, and my performance suffered massively because of it. So that's another area where eating clean just falls short. So those are the three main reasons. If we want to recap, number one, it's very difficult to stick to. It's probably not going to be very fun. I get it, like, you're disciplined, you're an athlete, so you'll probably stick to it for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a couple months. But at some point or another, you're gonna get sick and tired of eating the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you're gonna fall off. Number two, eating clean typically results in cutting out a lot of different food groups, which typically results in a much lower calorie amount, which is gonna make your athletic performance suffer, and you're gonna end up in a position where you can't perform to the best of your ability, your ability to recover is hindered, and your risk of injury and illness goes up. Last but not least, you're going to be limiting your carbohydrate intake. And as we know, carbs are your body's preferred source of fuel. It can use fat, but it's just not as optimal. So you want to be making sure you're getting your carbs in, and eating clean typically results in a lower carbohydrate intake. So hopefully that makes sense. If you're making any of these mistakes, hopefully this helped kind of clarify that for you. As always, you can always shoot me a DM on Instagram. Go ahead and follow me if you're not already, at T Clark Nutrition. And remember, if you're new around here, you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button down below, drop a like, leave a comment, let me know who you are, what position you play, and any questions you have about nutrition. So that pretty much wraps up this video. Be sure to tune in for the next one, and I will talk to you then.